finally back on AlexVo, and we're gonna be reacting to the top 10 infamous mob hits. The one I most remember is the Paul Casanotto, because that hit was because of Johnny Gotti. That's the one I remember the most. I didn't like the newer version of John Gotti, the one with Johnny Peralta. That wasn't a really good Johnny Gotti movie, but the original one, that was a pretty better one. The first one they actually made, I don't know why they made another one, but the first one of John Gotti was a better one. The other one is probably Jimmy Hoffa too as well. At this point, I don't think we ever gonna know where his body is or find out where his body is. Because at this point, probably all of them are either in prison or pretty much whoever all the killers or shooters were, they're probably all dead too as well at the same time. But let's get to the video here.
Infamous mob hits. For this list, we're focusing on the Mafia's most high-profile hits. To narrow things down, we're keeping things limited to hits that
And there he is, Paul Casanotto. But let's get back to the video.
Happened in the United States. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to check out.
Alright, I'm gonna skip that part, and then we'll get straight to the video here. So let's go there. Sam.
10. Sam Giancana.
The only name you needed to know. And when Sam took the reins, all hell broke loose all over the world.
Over the years, this Chicago mobster has been linked to CIA efforts to assassinate Fidel Castro during the Kennedy presidency. At the time of his death, Momo was 67 years old and known for his gambling and refusal to spread the wealth.
Giancana's greatest strength was not his violent nature, but his gift for making money. It was Giancana who struck fear into the electricians' union so that every slot machine in Chicago paid the mob.
In 1974, he even relocated to Cuernavaca, Mexico to avoid legal hassles.
Large payments were certainly made to powerful men in Mexico City to protect him, to provide sanctuary.
But a life of crime caught up to Giancana on June 19th,
Can't always technically catch up to all of them. They're either in prison or technically someone actually killed them by a hit by the mob boss or something like that. So I don't think, especially if you're in the mob, you're not gonna make it out really. Technically, you're either gonna be in prison for the rest of your life or technically 6 feet and under. But let's continue here.
1975, as he was gunned down while cooking sausage and peppers. Aside from those responsible, nobody knows who killed Sam the Cigar, and conspiracy theories persist. Number 9, Joe Gallo.
I work everyone. I make fun of blacks. I make fun of Jews.
Give me a second here. I'm gonna pause. I do remember watching The Irishman. It was a pretty good movie. It wasn't too bad. I think it was actually on Netflix at that time, so I actually ended up watching it. I'm not sure if it's still there. I think it might be still there. I haven't been on Netflix for a pretty long time, so I can't really tell, but it was on there. So if you want to watch it, if it's still there, you can watch that Irishman movie. I know some parts of it's not technically true and stuff like that. They just randomly throw it in like what Hollywood kind of stuff does. But let's continue, and she's talking about Joey Gallo here.
No, it's okay, Joe. I got the money. Don't shoot.
Known as Crazy Joe, this New York mafioso was raised in Brooklyn, New York.
He's vicious, he's a psychopath, and he scared the heck out of everybody.
Joey Gallo got off on anger, and he got off on power.
During the 50s, he joined the Profaci crime family, working as a hitman and extortionist. But eventually, Joey started a war with the gang and kidnapped Joe Profaci's brother-in-law, Joseph Magliacco.
The boys look like we're going uptown.
Yes, sir.
Hey, we're in business. Tomorrow is here.
That is not something a crime lord forgets. On April 7th, 1972, Crazy Joe celebrated his 43rd birthday in Manhattan. Later that night, Gallo was ambushed and shot at Umberto's Clam House, and later died at Beekman Downtown Hospital. Number 8, Anthony Spilatro.
How did Nicky collect?
Every week, I dispose of them.
Don't ask.
This Chicago gangster was the inspiration for Joe Pesci's character in the 1995 film Casino.
Personally, I do like Joe Pesci in his characters. I always like his characters. He's always good in every type of movies too as well. Especially he's in a lot of these mob movies too, and he does a really good job on them, so I really can't complain. Isn't this guy who died with his brother? But I don't think I watched Casino before yet. maybe I have, but it's been a long time. I maybe want to rewatch that movie and see how. I heard it's a really good movie, so I might check it out eventually.
No. And if you're familiar with the Martin Scorsese classic, then you know that Anthony Spilatro suffers a horrific fate. In 1963, the Ant was officially a made man.
Yeah, he was the one who got killed with his brother, I believe, and they dig a hole, and him and his brother, they found them there together, beating up and stuff like that. So, yes, I kind of remember this one a little bit.
And in 1976, he established the Hole in the Wall gang. Spilatro eventually became suspected of skimming allegations of the mob's Las Vegas operations. He swiftly disappeared in 1986 and was later found buried with his brother Michael.
9 days later, a farmer found the grave. DNA from the crime scene helped build the case 21 years later.
Police suspected Spilatro may have been involved in almost 24 murders. Number 7, Jack McGurn.
Maybe I'm wrong to butt in like this, but the last couple of months I've been doing a little checking.
Yeah, I forgot about this. Everyone knows the Valentine Massacre, where they technically faked to be police officer and they killed about 7 or something. How did I forget about this one? The infamous the Valentine Massacre, where 7 people or more got killed by a fake police officer, where they killed the raw members of the crime family, where they just dress up as a police officer and they start gunning them down. So how did I forget about this one? But let's continue here.
Up on Moran.
Born Vincenzo Gibaldi, this man ultimately settled in Chicago and began boxing as a teenager.
Think you can handle it, kid? Yes, sir.
By 1923, however, Jack McGurn joined Al Capone's crime organization and became known as the Machine Gun. He's known for slitting the throat of singer Joe E. Lewis and allegedly helping plan the infamous St. Valentine's.
Damn, slitting a singer throat. Hopefully that guy could still sing, but I guess probably not, right?
Day massacre. Exactly 1 day and 7 years after the massacre, McGurn was gunned down in Chicago, and the killers left a telling clue: a Valentine with a poem. Jack McGurn, a Sicilian immigrant, was 33 years old, and his half-brother Anthony DeMori was also murdered 2 weeks later. Number 6.
Damn. R.I.P. to that family, though, technically. Both of them got killed pretty quickly after the Valentine Massacre. Alright, so we're back here. Let's get back to the video.
Thing from Philadelphia to Atlantic City.
For 20 years, Bruno headed the Philadelphia Mafia, but he began making enemies within the organization because of his greed.
London is going to be the Las Vegas of Europe. We need someone to front and someone to muscle for us.
On March 21st, 1980, his own underboss, Antonio Caponigro, allegedly had the docile Don killed outside his home on a South Philadelphia street. This did not go over well with the Commission, the Mafia's ruling body, which had not...
I remember you have to get like permission and stuff like that to actually get a hit to murder that person, but if you just randomly murder a boss, technically your life could be over too as well with them for making even that hit. But let's continue here.
As a result, Bruno's death was immediately avenged, as Caponigro was murdered for ordering his own boss's murder.
I know.
No, you don't know. Wait by the bar, would you?
Number 5, Paul Castellano.
And yep, this one. We all know this one, one of them too as well. Because of John Gotti, he was the one who actually made the hit on Paul Castellano. John Gotti, he ended up becoming the crime boss as well after this hit.
Years, Big Polly was a legend of the New York Mafia.
The question is whether his death will spark a new mafia war in New York or be the end of one.
By 1975, he succeeded Carlo Gambino.
And I heard like Paul Castellano, he was like kind of greedy and stuff like that too as well. He just didn't want to give cuts to some of his people. Like technically a lot of these guys, like they don't seem like to give cuts to anyone but themselves and keep the money, so more people will start hating him as well. But let's continue.
As the head of the Gambino crime family, and once reportedly put a contract out on an undercover FBI agent. In the mid-80s, Castellano was arrested for racketeering, just as an associate named John Gotti put a deadly plan in motion.
We're hitting Paul. and anyone else who's in the car with him.
On the evening of December 16, 1985, Castellano and his underboss Thomas Bellotti were both gunned down outside Manhattan's Spark Steakhouse, a brazen act that announced a changing of the guard.
I gotta be loyal. Without that, we crumble.
Tell that to Paul Castellano.
Number 4, Carmine Galante.
Carmine Galante. He was head of the Bonanno crime family. Known as the Cigar, he was widely feared for his cruelty.
And didn't he die with the scar in his mouth too? That's what I kind of remember about this guy. But that's about it.
Born in Harlem to Sicilian immigrants, this man became involved with organized crime before his teenage years. In the 40s, Carmine Galante worked as a hitman and later teamed up with Joseph Bonanno, leader of the Bonanno crime family. After 12 years in prison from 1962 to 1974, Galante attempted to run the drug trade, which greatly disappointed the 5 families.
In 5 short years, he transformed the fortunes of the U.S. Mafia by leading it into an era of multi-billion-dollar profits and unparalleled violence.
On July 12, 1979, the 69-year-old Galante was murdered in Bushwick, Brooklyn, at Joe and Mary's Italian-American restaurant.
It was such a perfect hit that it entered mafia folklore.
The commission had officially ordered the hit, and Galante famously died with a cigar in his mouth.
The motive for the murder...
Yeah, that's the only thing I remember. Just him having his scar in his mouth. Or just a scar.
However, was clear. Galante had become rich through drugs and refused to share his wealth.
Number 3, Albert Anastasia. The American Mafia exists because of this Italian immigrant. In 1919, Albert Anastasia first arrived in the United States.
I think I heard about this one too, of this case where he was in a barber, and then he was getting his hair cut, I believe, and then two or some random people came in and shot him up. But let's continue here.
And was soon sentenced to death for a 1921 murder. But the Mad Hatter received a new lease on life when several witnesses...
Damn. He got really, really lucky that he should have been in prison for a long time. Or else he probably would have been murdered. He still probably would have been in prison. But yeah, I guess because all the witnesses, which she's about to say, all disappear. That's what they usually do to a lot of the witnesses. Try to get rid of all of them so they could drop the case as well. And they will be scot-free.
Witnesses disappeared. By 1957, Anastasia was a 55-year-old legend in the criminal underworld.
He would not hesitate to resort to violence, whether it was shooting or murdering anybody, just to advance his position.
But the crime boss met a violent end when associates of Carlo Gambino, including the aforementioned Joe Gallo, allegedly murdered Anastasia at a Midtown Manhattan barbershop.
Excuse me, sir, I need to go in the back for a moment.
All right, don't be too long.
Looked like even the barber knew he was going to get killed there, since like he just walked away and allowed those guys to just come in. Let's go.
Later, it remains one of the most aggressive power moves in mob history.
It's not a mob hit where they've taken you in the woods. It's happened right there in the middle of New York City. That's one of the reasons it's iconic. It's so visible.
Number 2, Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. Along with his friend Albert Anastasia.
Bugsy Siegel. I know him because of... He's the one who made... Vegas, right? So he's the one who created Vegas. That's why I kind of remember him as well. So, RIP to him though. But at least he made Vegas, because Vegas now is a pretty awesome place now. But I haven't been to Vegas in a long, long time. A couple of years now since I've been there. But gambling for sure. So that's what they were doing there. Created gambling and casinos and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty awesome that he did Vegas, but sad part, he's actually not here. He's dead, technically. But let's continue here.
This Jewish mobster was a founding member of Murder Incorporated.
Bugsy Siegel was one of the main players in Murder Incorporated, which was the enforcement arm of the Lucky Luciano mob.
Benjamin Bugsy Siegel is also responsible for developing a small desert town called Las Vegas.
Take a look at this place, this beautiful place. What I want you to do is take it in. Take a deep breath. Do you smell it? Go on, take a deep breath. What do you smell?
Born in Brooklyn, Bugsy began a life of crime as a young man, and his organizational skills led him all the way out west.
At age 14, he started his first gang. He would go around and intimidate pushcart peddlers by telling them they needed to pay him for protection. When they questioned what they needed protection from, he would throw kerosene on their pushcarts, set them on fire.
Unfortunately for Siegel, his brash demeanor and lavish lifestyle made him many enemies, and one of them showed up at his Beverly Hills home on June 20th, 1947.
So I think the decision was made that the only way to tell him he was finished was to finish.
Damn, 1947. That's sad because, man, all these guys were getting killed back then. Nowadays, I think the mob boss is way low key now, since like you don't hear about them as much as before, where you probably would hear about killings almost every single other week or something like that, or someone go missing from the mob and stuff like that. But nowadays, they're probably just scamming people and stuff like that. And dandy fraud or something with money wise. They're still probably doing something with money, but it's not as much as they were back then. I don't know if they're as big as now, but they could still be big. And please don't go killing me because I'm just trying to react to a video.
As Bugsy read the LA Times inside, an unknown assassin fired through a window, putting 2 bullets through the gangster's head. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yeah, this one has to be number 1, but I thought Jimmy Hoffa would be probably in here too, because Jimmy Hoffa, like, they have never found his body ever. And I don't think we're ever going to find out where his body is, because technically all the people who probably was in the hit probably are not alive anymore or in prison somewhere, but that's about it. But yeah, this one is definitely has to be number 1 for sure. A lot of them got killed at the same time, but let's continue here.
You know the drill.
Throughout history, individual mob hits have symbolized a transfer of power. In 1929, Al Capone made a major move by taking out several members of an Irish gang led by George Bugs Moran. 2 supposed police officers arrived at a North Chicago warehouse and, along with 2 other hitmen, massacred 7 gangsters with Thompson submachine guns and shotguns.
Moran and others pointed the finger at Capone, but Al had an airtight alibi. He was in Florida in a meeting with the district attorney in Miami at the time of the shootings.
A contract killer named Frank Gusenberg survived the attack, but he refused to identify the—
Oh, damn. 1 person survived. Damn, that's kind of killed their technically thing right there, because if he didn't survive, then they probably would have not got caught at all. He actually survived long enough to tell on who actually ended up murdering him, so that definitely kind of sucks for those guys, because if he didn't survive, they would have never been caught, and probably some of these guys end up getting killed later on too as well, just for doing this massacre for sure. So bad luck on them, but let's continue here.
It's also a disturbing real-life mob hit that sheds light on the brutality of Prohibition-era America.
All right, you 2, let's go. Listen, Buster, you better be kidding. Move. How's flat feet? Wait till you hear about this downtown.
Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments. And
so that's gonna be end the video. So that is the top 10 infamous mob hits. I wonder how, maybe for another one, probably Jimmy Hoffa was probably in there too as well, because I kind of remember that the most, and because I think everyone at this point kind of wants to know where his body is. If we're ever gonna find it, probably not. So maybe one day someone will probably come out, but then again, at this point, in their deathbed, that's the only way we can. Well, even if people die in the deathbed, some of them could still be lying. But then again, his body could technically be anywhere. It could be in the ocean, could be dug up somewhere, could be someone's house. I don't know, but man, maybe one day I kind of want to see where. Man, I just hope one day we can actually find out where Jimmy Hoffa is, but I don't think we are. So that's going to be it for me, and I'll see you guys next time.